TG Geeks, episode 284, July 27th, 2020, Star Trek and more. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely, monsoony Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, coming to you from a studio that I hope we will still have power throughout the remainder of this episode, because we lost power last night for a while here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yep. And let's get on with it.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
Well, this time it is all us. We we don't have an interview portion for you today. We are going to talk about Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Then we're going to have our birthday shout-outs and our featured podcasts of the week and feedback, shout-outs. And in the second segment, we're going to talk about other Star Trek, since this was kind of the weekend, at least.
Well, San Diego Comic-Con at home had a big
several
Star Trek
panels and
a big virtual panel.
And things were talked released. About. So then we'll talk about that stuff and weekly recap and then our regular shout-out. So let's just get on to it.
Yeah, sit tight, people. This is all about us.
It's all about us, yes. So we just finished last night, which was Friday night, finished watching our rewatch of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
We should comment about how this came about. Last year, there was a theater showing of the documentary What We Left Behind that Ira Bear put out. And so I managed to get us tickets for that. So we saw that, and I wrote a review on the documentary itself after that screening. And then I had the thought, let's kind of watch through this again, because you had not originally seen the pilot.
Yeah, I had.
Well, sometime, but I remember you mentioning that you had not seen it, I think, when it first aired.
Yes, I did.
Oh, you had? Because you asked me to show it to you one time, and you said, I don't remember this. I never saw this.
No.
Yeah.
No.
For DS9?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
No, I must have been your other husband.
Maybe it was. Or I'm quantum leaping again.
Who knows? No, I remember, I specifically remembered I was living on the other side of town. And
For the pilot?
For the pilot, yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was quite the event. Actually, I commandeered the television in the living room. I asked if we could watch it. And of course, the people I was living with, they were just like naysaying, and it was a horrible experience to watch it.
Oh, really?
With them. But anyway, it was what it was.
Yeah. Well, it gave us the motivation to want to kind of mainline through this entire series again. Whole thing's available on CBS All Access, so we thought, okay, let's do this again and see if it still holds up. I mean, I know that we had seen the occasional spotty episode here and there,
right,
whenever the mood would strike us, like trials and tribulations, things like that. But we never really sat down since
and watched
the series
the whole
first
series,
ran.
Yeah, all 7 years of it. Yeah,
right. And it was amazing. Well, how much I don't remember
exactly,
and as a very self-professed Star Trek fan, I'm deeply embarrassed.
Yeah,
at the fact that I don't remember a lot of that.
Well, we did watch through it, and it was interesting because I guess I slept through some of it. I don't know. Well, because there was lots that I don't remember.
Well, many episodes that I have no memory of at all. And I know that we didn't skip anything. I know that the series never turned us off. So I can't imagine how it is that we managed to miss a lot of these. But I'm glad we had the opportunity to sit down and kind of get through it. It was, and even the beginning of the series, which is all about putting the pieces into play. And, you know, and first seasons of any show can be very tricky to get through, especially when you have an ensemble cast.
Right.
They can be very difficult to get going. I know that a lot of people just really complain about how dull the first season of Babylon 5 was. And a lot of people complained about the first season of Next Generation, that it just didn't measure up.
Right.
So there was some concern, you know, and rightfully so. There are some episodes in the beginning of Deep Space Nine that might be considered, I don't call them snooze fest, but again, you know, we're trying to put everything into place. It's like setting up a chess table.
Right.
But yet I still thought it kind of held up.
It really did. And I was impressed at some of the episodes and how they touched on so much, and they touched on a lot of social issues and a lot of, I mean, we've discussed this time and again in our complete rewatch. It's too bad that we don't have. Well, it turned into a 12-hour episode, but
yeah, we should have a tape recorder running all the time so we can pick notes. It's like, oh yeah, we said this, this, and this.
Yeah. But we were talking last night as we were watching the last episode, and then we rewatched What We Left Behind, the documentary, and I mean just back to back, and how. The relationship between Avery Brooks and Cirroc Lofton, how that really transcended the show into real life, and how and they've both said that it was important to have, and Avery Brooks specifically says a brown person represent as a wholesome, engaged, present father to a young man, and how he accepted him as his own kid and introduces him still as his son.
Yeah, Cirroc was saying that Avery would take him and Avery's own kid.
Yeah,
they would take them, and he would introduce both his own son and Cirroc as, these are my children.
Right, and how that whole, I mean, all 7 years, because Jake never left the station for any period of time. I mean, he lived on the station.
Pretty much.
He was there. He was a constant character. And then, as they talked about in the documentary, they had as many as 20 some odd folks that they could call on that were on standby all the time, that they could bring in for different stories. Andrew Robinson, who is probably the favorite character of that whole series.
Yeah, here's a guy who was introduced in one episode of the first season, episode 2. It's the very first time we ever met Garak. I remember I was going to there was a Creation Con that was here in Phoenix, and this was in between, right after season 1 of DS9, and so I went to that con. And Lolita Faccio came on. She worked in the Roddenberry office, Paramount office for Star Trek, and she was giving a big rundown about what fans could look forward to for a second season. And she made mention that Andrew Robinson is coming back for another episode as Garak, and the applause in the hall was thunderous.
Right.
So clearly, you've got this really mysterious Cardassian.
Right.
That Bashir is completely almost paranoid about. And yet Andrew Robinson played him with such charm and such humor and grace that fans immediately just gravitated towards him, despite the fact that Garak, in his heart, is he's a cold-hearted killer.
Yeah. And we talked about, him being probably the most ruthless character.
Easily.
He is that villain that you love to hate, that you wouldn't mind going out and having a drink with.
Right.
You better
never turn my back.
Take your own glass.
I'll take my own glass. I would never turn my back. But boy, would I enjoy having a drink with him and sharing stories.
Yeah.
Because the man is amusing.
Yeah. And then there's Jeffrey Combs, who had one episode and then he was killed. and he thought, well, that's it for that. That was
oh, guess what? We have clones.
Yes. So there were all of these characters that really made the whole series. And we talked also about how Paramount, and they talk about this in the documentary, how Paramount did not want this to be serialized. And even though Ira was wanting to do that initially.
Yeah, he said it screamed to be serialized.
Yeah, because they are in one place. It's not like they go here and they go there and they go, and they're a different place every single episode. This is something, there's always Bajor, there's always the station, there's always the wormhole, and they always return to Deep Space Nine. Yeah, whether they go other places or not.
Yeah. The other thing that I said this last night during our rewatch, that you look at original series and you look at Next Generation, and those are two shows that are, I would say, maybe more story driven than character driven. I mean, obviously you have to establish these characters so that you have a way to express the narrative in each episode. But it's really about, okay, this is the conundrum that we're in, and they're going to a different planet every single week. So there was a lot of adventure and a lot of plot and story that needed to be developed. As a result, it makes it rather easy to hit that dreaded reset button.
Right.
Because, I've said that I think this series, Deep Space Nine, was far more character driven than any of the others. And if the focus is going to be now on these people, you can't help but take them on an evolution. You can't help but take them on a journey. And by doing that, you have no choice but to start to serialize this, because you need to highlight the way these people are growing as this series progresses.
Right.
In their relationships. I mean, I would have hated to see the relationship between Bashir and Garrick just remain static the entire time. I mean, it was so much fun to watch how it grew. Same thing with the friendship between Bashir and O'Brien.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to watch that develop is lovely. Or the relationship between Kira and Odo. These things are what kept the audience coming back. And I understand the idea of not wanting to serialize it, because Paramount's got this big concern that, okay, great, if I miss an episode, I'm out, I'm SOL. I don't know what's going on, and I'm lost. But at the same time, I think you're now, by serializing it, you're really building in a new level of loyalty by having these people come back and to see them grow. And also, I think it kind of allows for maybe the audience viewers to start looking at the characters and say, I see a little bit of me there. Right.
Well, I mean, they really, and I think even though Rick Berman didn't, and the studio did not want to do serialization, you see where Ira, because he was kind of the head of the writers, and he kind of probably instilled in the writers that, pushing them to write greater, bigger parts and a serialization in essence. Because from the very first episode with, Sisko being the emissary.
Yeah.
I mean, hello.
That's a big one. Because if you're going to...
That screams serialization.
You have no choice. Because if you're going to saddle the commander of the space station with this religious title...
Yeah, exactly.
You have no choice, but you have to run with it. Yeah, and it's not going to go away.
Whether it's a gigantic arc, it plays a part in every succeeding episode. And then what was it? Season 3, when he finally, well, as I said, he became the emissary when he shaved his head and grew his beard.
I think there's something to that.
Or he accepted being the emissary.
And those are actually some of my favorite moments as far as Sisko's development, when you realize that he's now accepting this new role.
Right.
And I think that's when
and that's when the serialization
that's when it really began
to
take hold.
Yeah, exactly.
I think shortly after that, that's when they brought in Worf. So there was a stronger connection to Next Generation after that. But you're right. I think it was when they wrote Sisko as finally beginning to accept, possibly even embrace, because he stopped calling the entities in the wormhole as the wormhole aliens. I mean, he started to refer to
them as the prophets.
As the prophets, the celestial temple. I mean, he's now using Bajoran terms.
Right.
And you see his love for Bajor and its people begin to just grow and blossom. So these kinds of things can't happen if you don't serialize a show.
Embrace the whole ideology, if you will, except for her.
And yeah, except for her. But the other beautiful thing about that is by doing that, this really allows for some changing in the relationship between Sisko and Kira.
Exactly.
Because in the very second episode, she meets, I think his name is Tana Loss. I think that's his name. He was a Bajoran freedom fighter.
Right.
And she's talking to him, and he says, I take it you don't get along with him. And she says, vinegar and water.
Right.
But you see by...
Probably oil and water.
Well, actually, she said water.
Oil and vinegar.
I think she said vinegar and water, but it doesn't matter. The fact remains is halfway through the series, you start to see her opinion change of him. These are the things that I think fans really began to appreciate, that as the developments in their characters began to change, as they began to grow, it also changes the way you're now going to write your adventure.
Right.
How do these people now respond? You know, how would Odo respond to having to save Kira from a situation in episode, in the first season, as opposed to how he was reacting to a possible threat she was in season 7?
Right.
And now you can do some really interesting things with a character that you couldn't do 6 years earlier.
Exactly. And I liked the way they built all of those relationships, even that, and it's really, really funny in the documentary when they're talking to Nana Visitor and Mark Alimo, and how Gul Dukat was always pursuing Kira.
Yeah.
And you should have seen her she jumped up off the couch.
The document, it's hilarious to watch her reaction when she talks about, you were going to be, she's talking to Ira Bear. You were talking about, setting up a relationship between Kira and Gul Dukat. And Ira says, no, I really don't think we were doing that. And she said, oh, yes, you were.
And
yes,
literally
you were.
Jumped off the couch.
Yeah. Then he admits, okay, we thought about it, but we didn't write it. Instead, we made it about Kira's mother.
And then you see that, and apparently they had, as I said last night, that Nana and Mark had an acrimonious relationship to begin with.
I think they did.
And so that made that tension between them.
Not so much on his part, I think.
Right,
I don't know.
Right.
I think more on hers.
Because she says, yes, and you are going to set up a relationship with me and Mark Alemo. And she says, cut, wait, no, let's go back. Let's do that again.
Right, yeah, let's retake that. Because she her Freudian slip shows, and she says, you're going to make a relationship between me and Mark Alemo. And she, whoops. Okay, can we do that again? And then Ira has the courage to leave that cut in the documentary, which is hilarious.
But other than that, I mean, the closeness of all of the characters, and I'm sure even though they had that kind of relationship, because Mark does admit that he was kind of pursuing, Nana. Anyway.
He would have loved for the relation. He admitted that he would have enjoyed the relationship between the two characters, and all is Nana. The only thing that she's willing to admit is that she would have liked to have seen a relationship between Kira and a Cardassian. That's as far as she'll go. I mean, the idea of a relationship between her and Dukat, I think, kind of revolts her to no end. She hates that idea.
But they did have all of the characters had very close relationships, and they still do. I mean, because this was 20 years after the fact, and you can see them still interacting together and having a good time. And
they're still very
playing
close.
off of each other.
They're still a very close family. I mean, they touched a little bit, and I really mean a little bit, on the fact that, like Nana and Alexander Siddig got married during the course of the show. Not long after they got a divorce, but the friendship between the two of them is still incredibly strong. Because I've seen some, during the Great Pause, I've seen a number of online conventions take place, and especially with Star Trek, because that's kind of like the big thing right now. I've seen some conversation between the two of them, and through YouTube panels and whatnot, and you see that there's still a lot of friendship, a lot of healthy love and closeness between the two of them. I mean, they got a kid together, but they're still terribly close with each other, and that friendship is still there, and it lasted all the way to the end of the series. I saw some trivia as we were watching the closer, the final episode last night, and the series ends on, oh my God, it's a very touching moment in Vix.
They do some flashbacks.
Oh well, there are two moments that are just almost heartbreaking. They're so beautiful. One is in Vic's lounge,
right?
Vic's cabaret,
where they're all there, and all of the producers and writers.
Yeah,
and,
everybody who's behind the scenes is they're doing cameos, and even other people. I know that Jeffrey Combs was in that crowd. Cicely Adams, who plays Ishka Moogie, she was in there. We saw that Max Rodencheck was in there. All these people that we know from being in makeup are now just part of the regular crowd, sans makeup. And Vic comes out and sings this beautiful song to everybody in the group. And Nana, there was some trivia that Nana kept crying while they were filming it, and they had to keep doing it again and again because she just kept losing it. And James Darren, who was playing Vic, said that he had a really hard time getting through it too.
Right.
Because here's something else that I think really Deep Space Nine did so beautifully. You introduce, as a new semi-regular, a holographic character who's just a Vegas singer,
who's somewhat sentient.
A very self-aware holographic character who is a 1962 Vegas lounge singer. Wow. Yeah. What a novel idea. Exactly. And yet it totally, again, it added a new layer to the show. And it got to the point where every time we had a Vic-centric or heavy Vic episode, I couldn't wait to watch it.
And they really, they played that very well, because when Nog had his therapy accident, he went and lived with Vic.
Yeah.
And it was, there were the episode before that was directed by a Vietnam War veteran.
Yeah.
And then the following episode where Nog does his therapy and recovers from his PTSD and all of that. They touched on a lot of social issues that were kind of, I guess, taboo.
They have been taboo. We don't want to look at it too much as a people, for whatever reason. And again, this comes back to something that I just saw because before we recorded, I was watching the Comic-Con at Home Star Trek panel, and something that Star Trek does is that it holds a mirror up to society's face and said, "This is what you are."
Right.
And Star Trek and Deep Space Nine has done this heavily. Like one episode that we saw not long ago and it got touched on was Past Tense, where it's early 2100s San Francisco.
Right.
And you see the homeless issue.
Right. That was that one, and then there were the episodes with Benny.
Oh, Benny! Where Benny is a sci-fi writer.
Yeah,
and this is Captain Sisko's. He's having some sort of a I don't call it a delusion, but he's in some weird state, mental state, maybe brought on by the prophets. I forgive me if I don't remember, because I got too much running through my head at the moment. But to see that racial issue, of black oppression, a lot of this stuff was really hit upon well.
Xenophobia of the founders, and the fact where Damar comes to that concussion, shall we say, about who would do this after his wife and child are killed.
Yeah, his wife, his family is killed by the Jem'Hadar as they demolish Cardassian cities, and all of a sudden, and then the camera cuts to Kira's face, and you see the pain that she's going through as she is reminded of everything that happened during the occupation.
Right.
I mean, it is so well told.
And then she says, who would do that?
Yeah, who would do that? And you see the realization.
She realizes, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
And Garak is like, no, you were right to say that. He needed to hear that.
Right. And that was his turning point.
That's when he woke up and realized that, okay, I've been completely in the wrong about all of this now. And you touched on something just a moment ago when you talked about the xenophobia of the founders. And I saw something a little earlier today that really hit me. And that's, we look at the word idic, infinite diversity and infinite combinations. This is, when you take a look at the first and third word in that phrase, infinite, that means endless. So in trying to embrace the concept of progressiveness and diversity that Star Trek was trying to do, that's a never-ending journey.
Right.
It is constant, and that's something that I really appreciate what they did here. But this time they were able to really, instead of doing it on a plot basis, they were able to do it on a character basis.
Right.
By having the characters come to realize they need to continually work on themselves. I mean, just because you've now achieved some type of, Earth-like utopia doesn't mean that you can just sit on your laurels and okay, we've achieved it, we're done. Hey, guess what? Life is a journey.
Exactly.
And that means you have to continually work on yourselves. And that means, humans having to get over their preconceptions and their fear of the changelings, just as the changelings have to get over their bit over having to deal with solids.
Right.
So,
and that was when Odo said, he found out that Section 31 was responsible for the virus, for him to spread it. And he said, that's genocide.
Yeah.
And then you see the founders, committing genocide against many peoples. And then for him to go and rescue his people from that madness.
I mean, it's all about fear of the unknown on both sides. And that's that. I think I liked very much what Deep Space Nine did in addressing that and using the people and their own reactions as, how do we address this? Bravo to Deep Space Nine. I love the fact that we got through it.
Worthy of watching.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to binge watch it again. Maybe in another 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe not 10 years.
It's worth going back and watching if you have not seen the series, or you dropped it, or you haven't seen it since it aired.
Yeah,
and you're really a Star Trek fan.
The entire series is available on both CBS All Access, and currently it's on Netflix, although I don't know how long it's going to remain there. Yeah. But the entire series is on Netflix. I would recommend go through the entire thing, and then if you have the opportunity, immediately after the series is over, watch the documentary, What We Left Behind. You will not be sorry.
Hi, this is Chuck Tomasi from the Technorama Podcast and author of Podcasting for Dummies, and you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
Well, it was amazing how quickly that 27 minutes, 28 minutes went there. We could have talked for some more.
That could have been long-winded. So. That could have been a whole episode.
Well, here's a few selected birthdays for July 27th, 2020 through August 2nd. July 27th, Gary Gygax, game designer, creator of Chainmail,
which became
D&D.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I remember in 1975 it came to my attention, and I was told there was a guy, he was a senior, I was a sophomore, and he introduced me to a bunch of stuff, and then I went and stayed with them when they were living in married student housing, he and his wife, and it was just, but when in 75, that whole year, and then that summer following that, we played D&D and Risk and, Diplomacy and all of those different games. But they told me first I had to pick up Chainmail because that would introduce you to D&D. And then I had an original printing of this 3-book set that is gone.
Sad.
Somewhere. I know.
Sad.
Lost in a move. Anyway. Also on July 27th, Donnie Yen, actor. He was Chirrut in Rogue One.
Rogue One, yeah.
And his mother was a kung fu master. They moved from Hong Kong to Boston at the age of 11. It was made... you would not believe how many martial arts films he's made.
Actually, he's made quite a few, but I think everybody's favorite will be his role in Rogue One.
Yes, exactly. And then we have Facebook friend Andrea Hernandez Valdez. July 28th, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, socialite, first lady, married to John F. Kennedy. And then later, Aristotle Onassis, who she married in 1968.
She apparently, according to my mom, is very instrumental in the saving of Grand Central Station in New York City.
Oh, yeah. Well, doesn't surprise
because
me.
Because she said that, and she actually shared some articles with me. The politicians at the time were getting ready to shut the whole thing down, and kind of get rid of the whole subway system. And she's the one who pioneered and really pushed to keep it going, because when we were there, I was amazed at how it looked and everything you could find there.
Well, and she got quite a bit of attention when she remodeled the White House, too.
I'm sure.
And a big patron of the arts. She did not want to be a housewife. She had a career, and, that's how she came to the attention of Kennedy. And then she was also a style icon, most famously for her pillbox hats in the 60s. Right. Bud Luckey, animator with Pixar. He was Rick Dicker in Incredibles. Money, 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 money. And he's also the singer and writer of the song Bounden.
Oh, Bounden, yeah.
Bounden. And he's actually, for Disney, he was the voice of Eeyore in several different Winnie the Pooh.
I didn't realize that, but I can hear it now.
Yep, exactly. And, as well as many other things that he did. Also, Facebook friends Graham Denman and Bruce Groh. July 29th, Will Wheaton, actor, Stand By Me. Wesley
I love
Crusher.
this guy.
He has done a ton of voiceover work.
Yes, he has.
And audiobooks and lots of things.
He's a worker. He is working. He has an active career.
Yep. And now he is the Ready Room on Star Trek Picard.
And there is some talk that Wesley might actually appear in a season 2 episode of Picard, which I would love to see.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then we have Geddy Lee.
Rush.
He's a musician. Oh, is he with Rush? Oh, okay.
Stop. How dare you?
And then Facebook friend Mike Salerno and author Carrie Merrill. Happy birthday, Carrie. July 30th, Alton Brown, celebrity chef. He has hosted quite a few cooking shows or cooking type shows where it wasn't him cooking, but all kinds of other things on the Food Network. And he, when he decided he wanted his own show, his own cooking show, he went back to school and attended the New England Culinary Institute and graduated in 1995.
Oh, good for him.
And one of the interesting things is he was known to annoy his professors by asking what ingredients do in recipes. And that's what his show, his cooking show, is all about, is when you do this, this is what it does in the recipe.
He's looking at the chemistry of it.
He's looking at the science of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it, very much like the, if you are into recipes and you like to cook and you want to understand more about what things do, there is a really good book by America's Test Kitchen. It's the Best Recipes. and they will say, we took the standard chocolate chip cookie recipe, and when we did this is what happened, and when we did this is what happened, and we think this is the best combination of all of those items. So it's kind of very interesting. I love it. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite go-to cookbook. Also on July 30th, Carol Struycken, actor, Mr. Hom.
Yes.
And also Addams Family. He was Lurch in the current incarnation.
The live action films.
Yeah. And then Men in Black. He was the Arcalian. He's 7 feet tall.
Well, I can see why they cast him as Lurch.
Yep, exactly. And then, who's this? One of our
best friends in the world.
Brendan Mahoney. Happy birthday, Brendan. July 31st.
Imagine this.
Ted Cassidy.
The original Lurch.
The original Lurch, exactly. Who actually did the amount of voiceover work that Ted Cassidy did is unbelievable.
I didn't know he did voiceover.
Oh, yeah. 60s and 70s. Oh, my gosh. He did the narration for the Hulk TV series.
No.
Yep.
With Bill Bixby on it?
Yep.
Really? I didn't know that was him.
Yeah. And several other things. Lots of voiceover for different television programs. It was also on an episode of Lost in Space.
Oh, gosh.
He was a slave of some kind.
I'm trying to remember. I'm running all the Lost in Space episodes in my head, and I don't recall.
And then he was on 3 episodes of Star Trek.
I can remember him in one of them, in What Are Little Girls Made Of? He played the android... Oh, God. Ruck, that's it, yes.
Yep. He was Balok's puppet, uncredited voice.
Voice, yes.
And he was the voice of the Gorn, uncredited.
Really?
Yep.
Because he spoke so gravelly, I didn't recognize the voice at all.
Yep. And then we have Mario Bava.
Oh, my God. Everybody's favorite Italian
horror film director. And uncredited cinematographer on 79 films.
Oh, wow.
He was one of those. He said he didn't want to be a director because you had to be a genius to be a director. So he was director cinematographer on most of his films. He was very much like Shoot. 2001.
Douglas. Shoot.
I just lost my...
Yeah, the thought went out of my head.
Yep. Anyway. So he did all of the cinematography on his films as well. And he was also a painter. He did a number of paintings for backgrounds. And,
the Bava, the movies that he worked on, I mean, I think I might need to see some of the things that he was just the director of cinematography on.
Well, it was all of the films he directed.
All films,
yeah.
Okay, because
for the most part,
they look beautiful.
Right. They are actually, yes. And then we have Facebook friend Brad Jensen. August 1st, Jason Momoa, actor, got his start on Baywatch. He actually was born in Hawaii, and they moved to Iowa, and then once he graduated from high school, he moved back to Hawaii and got his was noticed and started on Baywatch.
Oh.
And that's how he got started. Stargate Atlantis, Game of Thrones, Aquaman, and let's see. Then Jerry Garcia,
Grateful Dead.
Yeah, what is and ice cream named after him. Ben
Really,
Cherry Garcia.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God! How did you not know that?
Yeah, because I really don't follow ice cream. It's not one of my favorite. Ice cream with a pie. Okay, fine. For a side as a dessert, but I'm not one of these people that knows everything about the product.
Leave this house. Also, Facebook friend Fred Kurtzweg and Steve Wells, Devaney Penn, and Phil Chavez, who's turning 50. How about that? Happy birthday, Phil.
Child.
Yes. August the 2nd, Jack Warner, media mogul, the Jack L. Warner, And I only put him on here because he was one of the Warner brothers who founded the studio. Apparently, he was not a nice man.
I've heard that.
He was a very staunch Republican, sat before the House Un-American Acts Committee and blacklisted 11 writers and all kinds of weird things.
During the Red Scare?
Yep.
Oh, my.
So, anyway. But because of Warner Brothers, founder. Then we have Wes Craven, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, Horror Master. And actually, I think we were in Disney World. We had just finished our fireworks cruise. And we were standing at the Yacht and Beach Club.
Beach and Yacht Club?
Yeah, on the front steps when I opened my phone and it said that Wes Craven had died.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So, in, some
years ago.
Yeah, many years ago. And then we have Facebook friend Kyle Madsen and Eamon Saman. Happy birthday. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
It's sci-fi for your Wi-Fi.
Go over to kryptonradio.com and listen to all of the things that they have over there. Gene Turnbow has been busy rebuilding their server. They had a major crash recently, and I think he's pretty much done with that. And you can see us or hear us, not see us, on Tuesdays at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific time. And they've got lots of other programming that they do, lots of talk shows and throughout the week, and lots of wonderful, geeky music. It's a 24-hour geeky internet radio station, kryptonradio.com.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counselors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
Well, this is our feedback time. I kind of want to fly through this. Starting off with, I should point out that the links for the items in each of these feedback responses. My God, my brain, I went into a vapor lock there for a moment. We will include the links for each of these stories in the show notes for this episode at tggeeks.com. Starting with TG Geeks episode number 282. Now we were doing the birthday segment, and Keith he got to Jane Lynch from Glee, and he was trying to say openly lesbian. And unfortunately, it came out as opium lesbian, which
yes.
It generated a response from Arkle.
Of course.
Brian Weber says, Opium Lesbian is the name of my Velvet Underground cover band. I hope you really remember the context for this joke next week, or it's going to read really weird. Laugh out loud. Yes, we do remember, Arkle. Yes. Thank you. And that was very funny of you. We appreciate that. And then we got a comment from Fraser Sherman. He was the interview guest for that week, and he says, thank you for having me on. Moving on, regarding Pia Thrasher releases trailer for new short Things We Dig, and we got some comment first from Kat Forrest, who was in the movie. She says, thank you for sharing this. You geeks are the best. Value your opinion immensely. The future looks bright. Kiss and hug.
Yay.
And then we got a comment from Pia herself. She says, I'm verklempt. Thank you guys from the bottom of my black, scarred little heart. Thank you so much for the press release about Things We Dig's trailer. Not only did you talk about the new film, but you even brought up my first short film, The Appointment. That was super nice of you, and you really went above and beyond. You two are the bee's knees, and yes, still listening to your podcast every week. I love having you in my ears as I stock Trader Joe's shelves on my closing shifts. Great companions, and then lots of lovely little icons after that. So it's nice to know we have a listener out there. And then lastly, we got a comment regarding This Got Made, hosted by Carlton Tetley, episode number 3. And this is from Al Sparrow of Studio Fugazi. It's a puppet show that talks about things that got made that maybe shouldn't have.
Exactly.
And got a comment.
It is well worth the
it's very amusing.
3.5 minutes for each episode.
It's terribly amusing.
You have got to see it. And
got a comment from Hamish Downey. He simply says, "What a great idea this is."
And that's it for the comments, the feedback for this episode. You can leave a comment on anything that we publish, whether it's an article or whether it is one of our episodes. And you can comment on those things at tggeeks.com or on our Facebook page, where we publish everything that goes out. Also Twitter and Instagram, and where you can find us every place else. If there's a comment section, leave a comment for us. Hopefully we'll see it. And if you want to, you could leave a voicemail for us.
Please.
We have a voicemail line, and that is 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And if you leave us any kind of feedback, please
play nice.
If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone. Well, I got that stuff all out of place there. I pressed the wrong button. But anyway, we are huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. If you want to support those independent filmmakers or whatever, I couldn't talk. I was trying to indicate to you to start talking.
Sorry. I'm not even on that part of the script.
My throat is lots of schmutz in my throat anyway, if you are a fan of any filmmakers, comic book artists, or writers, and you know about their webpage or their Facebook page, their Etsy pages, all of the places that you find their stuff, please go there and chat them up, look at their stuff, tell other people about their stuff, buy their stuff, especially since all of the cons for this year
they're all shut down.
Have been canceled. So please support independent creators. The Joshua Tree Feeding Program is a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV/AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. They offer a place where clients can select from a wide assortment of nutritional foods to take home. They set it up as a store so the clients can pick and choose what food they want, so that it empowers them and they can choose the foods they want with no food wasted. Please consider supporting Joshua Tree either with a single gift or a monthly recurring gift. You can also do that at jtfp.org.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Well, we still have some time, and there's other Star Trek stuff going on.
Oh, my gosh.
Because of Comic-Con at home, this was Thursday, there was a big Star Trek panel that lasted, I don't know, well over an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I saw a very trimmed down version of it, but it had
there were a lot of announcements.
A lot of announcements were made
this week. Yeah,
interviews, panels, Q&As, and one of the things that was talked about is right now there are plans for a Star Trek season 2 for Picard.
Yep.
Which everybody's kind of like looking forward to. I know that Patrick Stewart, or as he likes to be referred to as P-Stew, P-Stew. That's the name.
Stew.
That was the nickname he was given, and he likes it. He's very excited about it. So
is that nope, not going there.
Please don't go there. Whatever you do, don't. No, we don't need to go there. In any case, he's very happy with the direction, and it's going to be some very big surprises as to where it's going to go, and not just in terms of character development for him, but for some of the other people as well. And what's going to be great about this is now we know who everybody is. Exactly. Because it took us forever to get everybody finally on the show. I mean, you don't want to just throw everybody in there because that's very inorganic. It doesn't work. It feels forced. You need to bring people in a very natural sort of way, and then let their characters kind of speak for themselves. Now that everybody's there, now that all the players are there, I think season 2 is going to be really exciting. We just have to wait for the great pause.
Not that season 1 wasn't.
Season 1 was great, but
oh my gosh.
now they can really hit the ground running for season 2 with everybody there, all the players there, and I'm really hoping Jerry Ryan is a regular now.
Yes, and they haven't filmed that yet, so
no, we still have the great
who knows
pause.
when that will be happening. But
Discovery has been filmed.
So
and
we're
there's
going to
talk
get a
about
regular release of Discovery.
Yeah, the talk
hopefully
is at the end of the year.
Yeah,
is what they're looking at. It's going to be initially from 2 different points of view, I think. The first point of view being, Michael Burnham, because she overshot when she went through that little time warp thingy, whatever, that the Discovery goes through.
Yep.
She did not end up in the same place the Discovery did.
Yeah.
So she's going to be wandering, and there we're going to get a loop back or a callback to one of the little mini Trek episodes that we saw. That was very mysterious. We didn't understand it, and we're going to get a callback to that, which I think will be very exciting.
Oh, cool.
So I'm really looking forward to that, and we've heard a lot of people say it's going to be more optimistic, because I think a lot of people got really just worn out over how dark the first 2 series were. They're going to go for something a little, more positive, because that's what Star Trek has always been about.
Yeah.
But speaking of not positive...
Well,
I shouldn't say that.
Actually, let's talk about Strange New Worlds first.
Okay.
So then there's the Strange New Worlds with
Strange New Worlds with Anson Mount, Rebecca Romaine, and Ethan Peck. Yep. They're coming back as their characters, and again, the big talk on that this is going to be very episodic, or they're going to try and make it more episodic, have it be more of a callback to the original series. But there is one thing that we need to remember, and this was brought up during the Q&A that I just saw a little while ago, and that is Pike. You can't do a reset on this guy, because this takes place post-Discovery. Pike knows his future now.
Right.
He knows how he meets his sticky ending.
Right.
And now he's got to find some way to live with that. So he seemed to indicate that that will figure into his character in some fashion or another. But I think it's still going to be very interesting. I was very happy to find out that it got announced.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I know.
I think it's great. Even if it is just one season, at least it will fill in some that interesting period of time.
Now they've only gotten 10 episodes written, or at least that's what Alex Kurtzman said. They've broken with 10 episodes. Whether it will only be 10 is hard to say. Maybe there will be more, but obviously they haven't finished or haven't even started filming yet.
Right. Now,
Lower Decks.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And a lot of people seem to be this is really split. I'm seeing 50-50 on this one. Half the people are really happy about it. The other half of the people are like turning their noses up at it. And I'm sad to say I'm in the second group.
The trailers, it's like, what did I just watch?
Yeah.
What is this? Why?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. The only interesting thing about it is that it's got a really good looking cast, including Jerry O'Connell, who's Rebecca Romaine's husband.
Right.
So it's funny, if he's going to be voicing a character, she plays a character in Strange New Worlds. So I think as purely from a point of trivia, I think that's amusing. And Jerry O'Connell is a very skilled voiceover actor. He does. I think he does more voiceover work than anything else.
Right.
So, but at the same time, I'm very nervous about it.
And I sort of listened to the panel while I was doing some other things, but it was like, wow, what's, you know?
Yeah, it looks, I think it really plays to, it's playing to, I don't want to say it's juvenile. I really don't, because that's not fair. I mean, I haven't watched it. Maybe it really is good. I mean, we'll give it a chance. We really will. We will try it out. We'll give it the...
But they picked, you know, for the trailer, they picked something was very over the top.
Oh, quite.
And
there was a lot of over the top.
Really just kind of...
And they showed a scene from the first episode that was very over the top as well. It plays like an animated show.
Yep.
That's all I'm going to say. Maybe it really will be good. I mean, I remember I had my reservations about Orville, and then I ended up loving that series when it premiered.
Right.
So maybe Lower Decks will be the same thing. Maybe we'll get something that is really great about it. But then they also announced something, and this is like really
there's hardly any information. There's not even a paragraph's information on this new series called Prodigy.
The only thing we know is that it's about a group of rebellious teenagers who find themselves an abandoned starship.
Yeah.
And they take it.
And it's going to be on
Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Now, I did hear from, I think it was from Kurtzman, that the show is designed, that is for children. Okay. It is not for adults. That they're making that for kids deliberately, and I think maybe they want to target that particular group to show that maybe this is you, maybe you are that rebellious teenager or rebellious child, but you know what? Maybe you can make a difference too. So I think that's where they're going. It's hard to say because we know so little about it.
Right.
But the fact that they're aiming it for kids and they're going to put it on Nickelodeon, I think is an indicator as to what kind of message they're trying to deliver.
Right. And then one thing that has been talked about, hasn't been slated or greenlit or anything, is the new Section 31.
Yeah. Now, we had some very lengthy conversations about this because we got introduced to Section 31 in the final season of DS9.
Right.
And we had a lot of talk about that.
What about season 6, I think?
Was this? Well, maybe it was a little bit early. That's right, because O'Brien was on a secret mission for them.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that maybe it was a little bit early, but we really didn't get it fleshed out in any degree until season 7, where we meet Sloane, who recruits Bashir to be his unwilling agent.
Right.
And we had some comment. We had reservations about that.
I have reservations about Section 31 to begin with. I'm not sure that it can stand a full season treatment. And I said, I wouldn't mind seeing maybe an episode or even 2, depending on how long the season of Picard is. I wouldn't mind seeing, or in Discovery, or, as we
maybe
saw
a little bit
already.
Here and there. But you brought up a really great point about it might serve better in Picard, because already now we see Starfleet and the Federation sort of beginning to fray at the edges a little bit.
And they've been supposedly the quote unquote, the people that hold the Federation together or will do anything in their power to save the Federation.
Right.
And maybe they can turn out to be the good guys instead of the bad guys.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I did learn,
Picard,
which might change your thoughts on this, is that Michelle Yeoh, I do know that Michelle Yeoh will be the star of the Section 1 series. It takes place in the same century as Discovery will.
Yeah.
Because she went through she went into the far, far, far future as well. So the Federation and Starfleet doesn't exist.
Right.
It is gone by the time season 3 Discovery starts. So that might make for some very interesting fertile ground for Section 31. So who knows? Maybe it actually will work in that new environment.
Yep.
We'll have to see.
Who knows? That's what we know about Star Trek.
And And this is a recap of everything that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com this past week. And we have the links for each of these articles in the show notes for this episode number 284 at tggeeks.com. Starting with Sunday, July 19th, Nerdy Chupacabras, issue number 5 from Tommy Cannon. On Monday the 20th, TG Geeks episode number 283. On Tuesday the 21st, Ben's breakdown, The Absence of Presence Shows the Greatness of Kansas. I'm a big prog rock fan, and Kansas is one of my favorite bands of all time. Yes, I'm an old fart. And Absence of Presence is their new album, and I did a review on that. On Wednesday, July 22nd, Ben's gay breakdown, Strong Women and Gay Men Make Up the Old Guard. This is an amazing movie. Loved it. It's on Netflix right now. I highly recommend it. Check it out. On Thursday, July 23rd, Andrea's Angle. Madame Curie's life was both inspiring and radioactive. Talking about the movie Radioactive that is currently on Amazon Prime Video. On Friday, July 24th, Hamish Downey's 5 Questions with Michael Chan and Nightingale Gwen of Talking with Our Mouths Full. That's a podcast, so you want to check that one out. And then on Saturday, July 25th, This Got Made, hosted by Carlton Tetley, episode number 4, Girls Love Stories, issue number 100.
And that's a catch-up because
we actually missed a week
recently.
Yeah, and that is what we ran on our website at tggeeks.com. Have some shout-outs that we need to make. First, to the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News for republishing some of our content from time to time. It's put up by the human Arkle, Brian Weber, who you heard from a little bit earlier today. You can find the Post-Dispatch News by finding him on Twitter. Do that by searching for Arkle at ARKLE. And you can look for Arkle Studios on YouTube. Brian has a number of projects. First, his Shameless Cash Grab series.
Nameless cash grab.
That's a joke. That's a joke for Shameless. That's a joke for later.
Shame nameless.
Shame nameless.
Name shameless.
Name shameless. Arkle, that's on him, not me. Shameless cash grab series. He also has his Rants vs. Zombies series and his game videos of Trick and Treat, as well as Star Trek Online.
Yeah, and he has a new where he's doing the USS Perth Amboy. He's a new episode of
That's
that
a
one.
mouthful.
Yep, it is.
Yes, and we must also give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post episodes and relevant articles on the pages. First, to the Gay Geeks After Hours. When I asked their moderators if I can share, they said, yes, please. Their URL is facebook.com/groups/Gay Geeks After Hours. Again, that's all one word. And then to the Gay Geek for also allowing us to share our stuff. And the URL is facebook.com/groups/thegaygeek. And as always, we must give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And we can be found on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found, such as Krypton Radio on 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays. Listen to their other content. And please rate us and review us on iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can listen to the episode and surf the internet on your device all at the same time. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have links on the page of things that we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Please stay home, stay safe, stay sane. Peace.
Cheers.